Hey guys, I just went ahead and finally beat Jedi Survivor, so I wanted to go ahead and give you guys my review. In the background is just going to be some early footage of gameplay on Jedi Grandmaster, which is the hardest difficulty in the game. It's like the very hard mode, and it is very tough. Like almost everything is going to one or two shot you. Your parry timing is very small. So just keep that in mind when you're seeing me get my ass kicked. It's very hard. But I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the pros and the cons, and then I'll give you my final uh, rating on the product. So, first pro I'll say is that the actual combat itself has been refined over Fallen Order, and it feels better than ever. It's incredibly enjoyable, and it's made incredibly enjoyable by the fact that there is several different stances that you can unlock throughout the game, and all of them have a unique skill tree, and they all kind of fit a different niche when it comes to approaching situations. And for me, I really like the dual wielding, which you'll see here, as well as the last one that you get, which is sort of a slower, higher damage, um, like attacking build. It kind of reminded me of like a big sword, like strength build in a Dark Souls game. So I really gravitated towards that because that's my shit. But yeah, I really enjoyed the combat in the game. I'll touch on like the actual difficulty of the combat and the cons, but I would say just like as a little cliff note right now, don't play Grandmaster. This difficulty is just like supremely hard to the point where it could be very frustrating. I found that the master difficulty, Jedi Master, I think it is by far the best way to play the game, which is the normal hard mode. As a good challenge, but it's not just oppressive like it is in Grandmaster. Um, but yeah, I really enjoy the combat of the game, and I actually even enjoy the puzzles and the parkouring. Normally, I'm not a fan of puzzles or climbing and parkour sections, but I think it's done very well. And one of my biggest problems with Fallen Order was a lot of the puzzles felt like they kind of dragged on a little bit too long. I did not have a lot of fun with them, and I didn't think they were particularly well done or well paced. However, I didn't have a single issue with any of the puzzles in the game. And it's not necessarily that they're easier or anything. They're not particularly hard, to be fair, but it's more so just that they utilize your abilities and in a much more interesting way. I just found the puzzles to be more interesting. Whereas in Fallen Order, there was a lot of like redirecting airflow and stuff like that that just wasn't very fun for me. So I actually surprisingly enjoyed the parkour and the puzzles, and the narrative is also incredible. Like the pacing on the narrative is perfect. It took me about 28 hours to beat the game, and I not only beat the game, but I did all of the side quests. They're called rumors. I did all of the rumors in the game, and I also fully explored 4 out of the 5 planets. Kobo was the only one, which is this planet, that I didn't fully explore. I was about like at 80% exploration by the end of the game. But every other planet, I was either at 100% or like 98%. So I definitely took my time. And I think 28 hours is like a decent length. I started to get a little bit worried when I was hearing that it was going to be significantly longer than Fallen Order. I was worried it might start to hit like 30, 35 hours and that it might drag on a little bit, but that's not the case at all. I think it's right around the perfect length. If you're just playing through the main story, you could probably beat it in like 15, 16 hours, something like that. And I think it does a really good job of just pacing everything out and making it so after you finish it, a main mission, you'll have some sort of new ability and you'll be like, oh, I can now go explore these areas on these planets with this new ability, sort of that Metroidvania feel. And I think the incentives were enough. Like, they're nothing crazy, don't get me wrong. It's not like you're getting entirely like game defining or build defining things, but you'll get perks which will change the way that you play the game a bit. You'll find mainly cosmetics, so different outfits, different colors for your outfits, different lightsaber parts, different blaster parts, different parts for BD1. And I thought the customization was quite good in the game, especially once you start to get a lot of the parts for like the lightsabers and a bunch of different colors. You can make some really cool looking shit. So I really, really enjoyed that aspect of the game. I think there's a good bit of things to find. And yeah, I actually had a great time just kind of interweaving between doing a main story mission, getting a new ability, and then exploring the world a little bit, and then coming back and doing more main story stuff. But the main story is fantastic. It is great. It has one of the best levels I've played in a video game in a very, very long time. Like, I was constantly in awe when I was playing this level. Everything that was happening, the scope of it, the big like set piece moments, every single thing hit, and then the boss fight at the end to top it all off, everything hit perfectly. I loved it. And I loved every single mission in the main story. You know, in Fallen Order, there were a few sections, like I said, that kind of dragged on a little bit. That's not the case at all in this game. I loved every single second of the main story. It was fucking great. And I'm going to say, if it wasn't for the things that I'll discuss in the cons, mainly the performance issues and the bugs, if it wasn't for that, I think that this is honestly a 10 out of 10 game. Like, I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's by far maybe not by far, but it is definitely the best Star Wars game ever made. I think it's better than KOTOR. It's been a long time since I've played KOTOR, but you guys know me. I love BioWare stuff, so that's really saying a lot. I think it's better than Fallen Order, better than Battlefront, better than even Republic Commando, which I have a lot of nostalgia for. I think this game is the best Star Wars game ever made. I absolutely love and adore it. It's unfortunate that the performance issues are there because, you know, that really hampers the playability of the actual game, but I'll get to that in the cons. Uh I really enjoyed the voice acting as well. I think it's all top notch. Every single character sounds great. They all give it their all, especially Cal. I don't know the voice actor's name, or I guess just the actor of him, but the guy that plays Cal, he fucking kills it, dude. He does a great, great job. And one thing I really, really enjoy is that they're not afraid to pull punches in this game. This game gets fucking dark, dude. It gets dark, it gets drab, and I mean, the title's Jedi Survivor for a reason. Like, you feel like you're a survivor. Um, and it really just sort of hit on this, like, almost Holocaust like feeling a couple times where you just feel like you're part of this group that it is being prejudiced against and being hunted down and exterminated, and the feeling of fear that comes with that, the feeling of losing all of your people, all of your kind, everybody that you know. And it gets fucking dark, dude, and I really like that. And I am so extremely excited to see where the next game goes, because no spoilers or anything, but it leaves off in such a good fucking spot, dude, where I'm like, I have to know what's going to happen next. Like I am so genuinely excited to see where the hell this story is going to go. Um I love Cal as a character. I love everybody. And one thing I really really like about the game is that you're not, I mean, the Empire is there, don't get me wrong, but they're not like the main villain of the game. The main villain of the game is these raiders called the Bedlam Raiders. And I actually really like that because, you know, the Empire is getting a little stale. Like, sure, it's fun to fight them every now and then, but it's cool to see some new characters that you don't know. And you know, Ravis, the main bad guy, along with some other bad guys that end up popping up. I thought all of them were really, really good. Not only were the characters good and interesting, but like voice acted great and written great. But I also just thought that the boss fights were fucking awesome against all of them. Like all the main boss fights were great. I absolutely loved them. They all had, some pretty unique mechanics to them and like very clean animations and set piece moments that I really enjoyed. And you can see me getting my ass kicked, which happened a lot on Grandmaster. Uh, but speaking of that, let's get into the negatives now. I've gushed about the game. Oh, also the sound design is phenomenal. I do want to touch on that real quick. I touch on the voice acting, but the sound design in terms of the music, obviously Star Wars music is always a banger, but all of the sound effects and everything are top notch, about as good as it gets for AAA gaming. Really, really good. But let's get into the cons real quick. The performance is really bad. Like, I think we all know that. Everybody's talked about it. I don't really want to harp on it for too much, but I have a 3080 Ti. I have a Ryzen 7 5700X overclocked to 4.4 gigahertz. I have 48 gigabytes of RAM, and the game is on an NVMe SSD. There is no reason why this game should run how it does. And the worst part is that it literally doesn't matter if you play on all low graphics or all epic graphics. What you're seeing here is all epic. The performance is not even 1% different from one another, from all low to all epic, which makes no sense. There's some very crucial mistake in the coding of the product because it makes absolutely no sense that I can put everything on low. I can see a massive visual degradation, but then I could put everything on epic and the performance itself does not change. It doesn't change after a restart. It doesn't change at all. It makes zero sense. So just play the game all on epic if you're going to be playing on PC. But the performance is absolutely abysmal, routinely dropping down to 30 FPS, even at 1080p on my system. I was playing on a 1080p television thinking that that would make the experience better with the 60 hertz refresh rate and sitting further away. Nope, still fucking abysmal. Still routinely dropping down to 30 and 20 FPS. I mean, it's just inexcusable. You go to Pyloon Saloon, which is the main hub area, and there's traversal stutters up the wazoo. There's incredible amount of frame drops. You look at your holo map to choose like where you want to go. 20 FPS on that holo map. I don't know what type of advanced alien fucking technology they put into that holo map because it looks pretty fucking plain and boring to me. But apparently it's the type of shit that NASA supercomputers are using to compute the trajectory of rockets because that shit is so advanced that your PC, no matter what, if you have a 4090 and a $5,000 PC, you're going to be getting like 20 FPS on that holo map. I don't know what the hell it is. But yeah, the performance is really fucking bad. Also, there's a lot of bugs. There's a lot of weird glitches. You'll probably see it in the gameplay. Like when Cal is running, it'll be kind of like jittery. Like the animation will be a little jittery. His clothes will like freak out at times. I had one moment. It was a sad moment in the story. It pans over to one of the characters and her jacket has little flaps on it. And they're just going crazy like freaking the fuck out, and I started laughing because it like completely ruined the moment and the immersion and everything. Her fucking hair started freaking out. Like there's visual bugs aplenty, and you'll see it in the gameplay too. As I'm walking on the water, there'll be big squares where just like the reflections look weird. And this is all epic settings. It's not like, I have something turned down or anything like that. Like every single setting is on epic. So I have absolutely no idea what the fuck is going on with the performance and the bugs, but it's terrible. Absolutely awful. Also, I think, as you saw with these fucking chickens, screw these chickens, dude. The difficulty is not well done on Grandmaster. Grandmaster basically comes down to everything gets quite tanky and basically everything one or two shots you. And what that ends up doing is it ends up kind of not like de-incentivizing you to explore because you're thinking to yourself, well, what the fuck is the point? And you can see here the squares I'm talking about in the water, how like the reflections are like totally fucked. I don't know what's going on there, but just one example because you're right there, pretty obvious. Um, but like I don't know who thought the difficulty was good. I don't know who was like, yeah, it's a good idea to make a chicken one shot a Jedi master. But it ends up just being very immersion breaking because you're not a Padawan anymore, you know? You're not a kid, you're not like learning the Force for the first time. You are a Jedi fucking master. Like you could probably throw down with Vader and you wouldn't win, but you know, you would put up a pretty good fight against him, right? He wouldn't just one tap you like Fallen Order. Like you're quite experienced at this point in time. You've been fighting for a long time and then you just get one shot by like a chicken. You know, and it ruins the immersion and it's just not it's it's not balanced well. Maybe you'll be like, "Oh, get good," you know, haha, funny. But I mean, I've played all the Souls games and not even like cheesing it with magic or shields or anything, you know, like I've played through Bloodborne and the DLC. Like I've played through a lot of stuff, and if you follow the channel at all, you know I usually play games on the hardest difficulty, but this one is just not very fun. It's not very fun to get one tapped or two tapped, no matter how many health upgrades you have. So I ended up playing about 8 or 9 hours on this difficulty, and then swapping over to the normal hard mode. Normal hard mode, much better. Like, still died a couple times to some of the bosses. Still had to learn the move sets and like not make mistakes, and was still incentivized to explore. But I wasn't just getting shit on by chickens, you know. So that's what I would say is play the game on hard mode if you want a difficult challenge, but it's still a good time. But yeah, all in all, it really pains me to do this review because the game is so fucking good in every aspect but the performance and the bugs. So it genuinely just ends up coming down to how much does that stuff bother you as an individual? And this is going to be very subjective in nature, but for me, we're not watching movies here, kids. We're playing a video game. It's an interactive medium. And as a result, the gameplay part of a game is the most important part of a game. So if your game has fantastic cutscenes and great story and all of that, that's awesome, man. But if I can't play your game in a decent way, then I mean, that's going to severely impact the performance. So I would say if they end up fixing all of these issues and the game like runs good, and when I say runs good, I don't mean 100 FPS. I literally just mean with a mix of medium and high settings, I can get a constant 60 FPS. Like that's how low my bar is. That's all I want is a constant 60 FPS, not even all epic settings, okay? If it ends up getting to that point, I honestly think this game is a 10 out of 10. Like I think it's a masterpiece. It's the best, definitely the best Star Wars game I've played. It's great. It is so fucking good. And like I said, I'm so excited for the future of the series. I do think it's a 10 out of 10. But that's not the version that we have. We have this extremely scuffed version that needed another 6 months in the oven, being realistic. And as a result, for me, performance is one of the most important things when it comes to a game. I mean, I don't spend $3,000 on a PC, $4,000 on a PC to barely run games at 20, 30 FPS. I mean, that is just an absolute travesty. So for me, I would say it's a 5 out of 10 game in its current state. For me, is 5 is average. Maybe you could even argue it's a 4 because it's below average. But at the end of the day, the narrative and like everything else about the game is so extremely superb that carries the experience, and that made me finish it. So the fact that I finished it even with all these performance issues truly does speak a lot about how good the game really is. But yeah, I would say fingers crossed that they actually fix the fucking performance. I kind of doubt it, to be entirely honest with you, because if we look at past PC releases that have been train wrecks, if you look at Wolong, if you look at Hogwarts, Dead Space, you know, any of these games that released with a bunch of issues, and you go back to them now, several months after, they still have tons of issues. So, unfortunately, maybe I'm just jaded or being a negative Nancy or something, but I don't think these issues are going to get fixed anytime soon, or at all. But I hope I'm wrong because this game is genuinely fantastic. It's just, god damn, did they botch this? They fumbled the bag hard with the launch. But anyway, that'll do it for me. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day. See all of you in the next video or stream Marooney. Bye bye.